Lived-in precision, an empowering concept. Hair fashion continues to be told through a visual and wearable stories. Shake up the imagination. Think past happy eras, the roaring 20s, the summer of love in the 60s, and the loved-up rave scene of the 80s. Consumers will seek out looks that stimulate and make proactive or confident statements. Rise up and rediscover the joy in design. Embrace the opportunity, and most of all, have fun.
Today, Roger will be demonstrating the Julia, a micro bob that looks simple, but actually has complex interior texture to make it come to life. Working on dry hair, Roger is working in the front side panel of the hair. There's a couple reasons for this. One, you can accurately determine what facial feature you'd like to focus on: jawline, lips, or cheek. This also creates comfort for the client by letting them see exactly where that perimeter line will live from the beginning of the haircut. Notice how Roger's using the wide teeth of his cutting comb and tapping the hair into place with the shears before cutting his perimeter line. While we're seeing precision in cuts in hair trends, we're also noticing that these precision lines have a little bit of softness to them. Roger will be using an etching technique with his shears to establish the guideline of the perimeter. Now watch as his shears point cut in to establish softness, yet a clean line. As Roger's using his shears, he's thinking about where the stationary blade versus the working blade is in place with the shape. Notice the stationary blade is faced towards the client's face, while the working blade is an extension on top, giving more control. Now that you and the client have established where this perimeter line starts, you can continue working around the back of the head. As the head shape rounds more, a hot tip is to make sure that the width of the section that you're taking is approximately a peace sign with your fingers. This matches the round shape of the head so that you have accuracy in continuing your perimeter line. As Roger works, he's slightly moving the hair back and forth, not just to see the movement, but to make sure that there's consistency in the connection between those subsections. Roger's model has very light blonde hair that is very straight. This means that accuracy is that much more important. This is where the key of etching this line in plays into the success of the end result. By using the softness of point cutting gently into that hair, it helps to create the illusion of a clean line, but movement with softness. You can see how Roger's width of those sections is really falling within that peace sign rule. As you're watching this, take your two fingers and extend them into a peace sign. Now you can see the width of what you would want to measure for those sections when you work with this on your client. Notice how much time Roger is taking through each one of these sections. As you cut this type of perimeter line, you really want to continually check for balance. Another key to the success of cutting this type of line is about the quality of the shear, the type of shear, and the sharpness of the shear. Roger is using the Samvia 5.5 classic cutting shear. The shorter length gives him more control because he's working closer to the blade. It also allows him to work more in balance with the round shape of the head. If he was working with a longer shear, it would be harder to have control over this rounding shape of the perimeter line. Now, moving to the other side, we're going to add another technique into this shape. Roger's now working with the Samvia 14-tooth point cutting shear. This shear works similarly to give an effect as if you are point cutting into the hair with softness. You can start by etching the line in with the solid shears and then coming back over the line to give more precision and extend the softness with the texture shear. Remember, using the mirror can always be helpful to get accuracy on either side of the head shape. If your client's profile is to the mirror so that you can see the side you've already cut, it makes it that much easier to be successful on the second side. Wow, so beautiful. The magic of this etched line gives modern end results to a classic shape. Watch that perimeter line and continually come back in with either your hardline shears or the texture shears to give more precision to the end result in the perimeter. Now, notice how Roger is cutting the interior of the hair. He's elevating the hair in vertical sections above the horizontal line of 90, not using a hardline shear, but actually coming back with the 14-tooth point cutting shear. He's strategically cutting into that shape to remove weight, but also remove a little bit of length, which is really softening the corners of the perimeter. Here he inserts his shears. And this is where you can see the beauty of what this texture shear does. You can actually see the separation in the length that he's removing weight from. In the back of the head from behind the ear, think about the density of hair that lives from the nape to the top. There's much more hair there than lives in front of the ear. So as you work through that section, you can take more weight and length out as you're softening the corner and giving invisible layers to the interior of the shape. As you move in front of the ear, because there is less density in hair there, you don't want to remove as much weight and length. This is such a key to cutting on dry hair. You have such a better visual connection to the end result, so you can have control over how much weight and length you're taking out of the hair. Notice how Roger is consistently going back through the shape, ensuring that visual connection to match the perimeter and the silhouette of the shape. This is why cutting dry hair, we can get to the end result so much faster than on wet hair. When we think about hair color and hair density, these things absolutely come into play when we're choosing tools and techniques. Julia has very light blonde hair that is very straight. Every single line would show if we were cutting with traditional methods. By using tools like texture shears and enhancing those invisible layers, it means that no one will ever see the texture until we open that haircut up and it starts to move. It's the secret to taking a classic shape and modernizing it so it has interest. As Roger continues to use the 14-tooth point cutting shears, think about what type of texture shears do you have? The Samvia collection has multiple options for texture shears. and all become useful depending on the hair type, the end result, and the movement that you want within a shape. Be thoughtful about what makes the texture shears you're picking up useful to get to the end result that you want in your shape. Now we see the movement that makes this haircut come alive. Yet notice how you don't see one line of graduation at all in the shape. The beauty of that softly etched precision line in the perimeter with the invisible layers make for a modern micro bob. The elevation softened out the corners of this, which you can see as Roger massages through the haircut. What a beautiful modern look. But Roger's not done yet. Now grab your favorite Redken finishing spray. Look at this micro bob that is pure magic to the touch. And here we have the Julia. No basic bob here. The next time your client wants a bob shape, step out of your comfort zone and try something new. Cut on dry hair. Reach for a tool that you don't typically use. Give your client an experience they'll never forget. As they walk through the streets, heads will turn and people will ask, "Who cut your hair?"